Oh man, here we go again. Just another, just another day in politics. This is crazy. This is 2 days ago. Actually, this is old. This is old news. But I just want to play something here, Stephen A. I kind of want to touch on it because I feel like it's important to have these type of conversations when we can. Uh, because like this is one of those perspectives where I get
Welcome
it.
back to the Stephen A. Smith Show.
This is one of those perspectives when I get it, but I don't get it at the same time. I don't feel like a lot of people are taking the opportunity or the chances to understand where people are coming from. So, it is what it is. This is Stephen A. Why not give Donald Trump a chance? NAACP snubs Trump on invite. This is in reference to the NAACP not inviting Donald Trump to an event, which is something they naturally do for all presidents. They normally invite all presidents to this event, but apparently this time around is different. So let's listen up. Let's have some comments on it. Let's talk
Now
about
let's
it.
get to the NAACP in two headlines linked to the civil rights organization. The first involves President Donald Trump. The organization announced they will not invite the president to their national convention next month in Charlotte, North Carolina. This would mark the
Drink your
first
Wawa.
time the NAACP has opted to exclude a sitting president in its 116-year history. NAACP President Derek Johnson announced the move during a press conference, accusing Trump of working against its mission. Here's a portion of what Johnson had to say. Quote, "This has nothing to do with political party. Our mission is to advance civil rights, and the current president has made clear that his mission is to eliminate civil rights," end quote. The NAACP has filed multiple lawsuits against Trump in the last few months, including suing to stop the Department of Education from withholding federal money for schools that did not end DEI programs, arguing the department was prohibiting legal efforts to provide equal opportunity to black students. First things first, respect to Derek Johnson. Derek Johnson, I understand where you're coming from. I just don't agree, respectfully. I don't agree that this was the right decision to make. Number one, let's stop associating DEI with black people. When you talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we all know that the biggest beneficiaries of DEI has been white women. And we all know that folks associate DEI with individuals who weren't qualified but were just giving an opportunity so a place could be diverse.
This is kind of like the whitewash version of what DEI is. DEI is specific. It is definitely just to give people who aren't white an equal chance. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's to be inclusionary. We all know the statistics. Yes, white women benefit from DEI, more than anybody else. It doesn't make it any less relevant than it actually is.
And that's not what I would classify us as, and I'm certain that you wouldn't either, Mr. Johnson. So that's number one. Number two, here's where my reticence really comes in. Why not let the 47th President of the United States come and address the NAACP convention? Why not give Donald Trump a chance to sit before your audience?
That's a hell of a picture to use too, by the way. Oh, wow.
Your constituents, and explain exactly what he's
It's not
doing and
helping
why.
you.
Why not let him do that? Why not let him stand before the very people whose lives he's purported to have had a profound effect upon with some of his decisions, and let him explain what is it that he's doing and why? When we talk about the Department of Education, again, we all understand that our students need all the help that we can get, especially in the public schools. There's no question about that. Federal funding is essential, and we understand that. But at some point in time, don't we have an obligation to look at exactly what the Education Department has done and whether or not it has served to benefit our community, as in the black community, along with various communities throughout the country, throughout this country, the United States of America? Do we just write a check and automatically give it to people, taxpayer dollars to people, without deciphering how well they do their jobs? Are we not allowed to probe and to look at them and to say, what exactly are you doing with the American dollars? with the taxpayer dollars from the American citizens? I don't know the answer. I'm not proclaiming to know the answer. I'm simply saying I want to hear if the president is taking this strong position and he's campaigned on eradicating the Department of Education for years. Why does he feel that way? What evidence does he have to validate his assertions? And if indeed there is profound evidence to support such a position, who are those that are supporting it? We need to ask those questions. And I think that standing before members of the NAACP at your very own convention, I think that that would serve well to invite him and let him come before you all and try to explain what he's doing, so you'll have him on the record.
I think the last time that this happened, when Donald Trump was invited to like a panel of black people, believe it was black women, during the campaign trail. This was like he and Kamala did this interview. It immediately flopped. He called one of the black women nasty because they were asking questions. So the thought of people actually engaging the way you think that they could engage with Donald Trump is actually ludicrous. Donald Trump will steamroll the fuck out the question and just call the person nasty. He's a fucking man-child. You can't expect Donald Trump to actually answer questions or have an actual conversation when he's being pressured. You should know this.
Just sound bites that airs on CNN, or MSNBC, or Fox News, or ABC, CBS, NBC, or whatever. No, let him sit before you and explain and defend his position. Most importantly, you could try to ignore the President of the United States. But you know what can't be ignored? His actions. Until 2028, Mr. Derek Johnson, he's not going away. He's not going away. By the way, the NAACP did sue him, and you remember, did sue him with a civil suit, successfully, I might add, as it pertained to the insurrection in 2021 on January 6th. Did that stop him?
Time out. Wait. So, like, they sued him successfully, as you said. They sued the president of the United States at the time for an insurrection that he claims he never had. Nobody's going to, at least nobody on the right's going to admit that that was an insurrection or attempted coup. And you want them to invite him to the White House? I wonder if he would even want to go to the to this convention by the NAACP because he was successfully sued. Donald Trump has made it a point to go after everybody who's wronged him. Judges, lawyers, people who sued, e.g. Eugene Carroll. Like, he's going after everybody. He honestly believes that he's going to be able to sit quietly and sit in front of the people who sued him and have a decent conversation. Come on, bro.
He's been sued. He's been convicted, 34 felony counts, whatever. Did it send him to jail? Didn't he still run for re-election? Didn't he still skate right through the GOP? Didn't he win the popular vote and the electoral college vote and every swing state? You don't get to ignore him, is my point. He has been the most powerful, the most influential.
Again, I don't think anybody's ignoring him. I mean, like, they just don't want him there. It's not about ignoring somebody. It's like, you're not welcome. Period, point blank. There was a time where black people just wasn't welcome in places, and I think it'll be okay. I feel like if Donald Trump's feelings are hurt, he will be okay. He'll rant on Truth Post Social, whatever you call that shit. But that's about it.
Member of the GOP since 2015. How does you refusing to invite him, ostracizing him, not wanting to hear what he has to say to you all, how does that help you? How? I'm not saying agree with him. I'm not saying side with him. I'm not saying befriend him. I'm not saying any of those things. But ignoring him ain't gonna get it done. Not if you truly want to be about the business of helping folks, particularly the desolate and disenfranchised in our country, the urban communities throughout America. Not that that's all the NAACP does, because I'm certainly not implying that. All I'm saying is that clearly is who you're interested in helping. Ignoring him and not even inviting him to come and speak?
I guess my biggest problem with Stephen A. Smith's takes is like it's incredible. It's fucking irrational. It lacks common sense. He's not being realistic in any of his takes. He claims to be a centrist, but he also states that he's a novice at this. So I guess that's the grace I'll give him for being a novice at it. But at the same time, like, what's the big deal? Donald Trump doesn't get invited to the NAACP convention. It's the NAACP convention. It's not as if it should be like, who cares if the president of the United States, who happens to be a white man, is invited or not? It doesn't make any sense. And I would implore people to actually, if you find this video, go on his channel. If you look into the comment sections, you would see a bunch of people who are white in those comment sections telling us black people that the NAACP has lost their credibility. I think that's my biggest problem. I understand that you disagree. Everybody should be able to disagree with things. If you disagree with the NAACP not inviting Donald Trump, fine. But I think you also still have to be aware of your rhetoric and your language on how you speak on it. Because right now, you're basically giving permission, and I say, go to this video. Why not give Donald Trump a chance? In Stephen A's channel, look at the comment sections. There's a bunch of white people telling black people, me, Stephen A. Smith, who's also black, that the NAACP has lost their credibility. I believe that's fucking crazy for them to have that type of say. Who are you to tell me, as somebody who's not a person of color? And I don't care if you get mad at it, I make it about race, but you're not a person of color to be telling me that the NAACP has lost any sort of credibility for whatever the fuck they lost credibility for, even if they did lose credibility. Like, that's just something I dislike. It's just the unawareness of the things that he's saying. And he says he's a novice at this. And I wonder if he even had a conversation with the NAACP before he decided to make this video. That's my question that I would have. If it was like a Republican or anything else, he would invite the Republican on, and he would invite somebody with a Republican point of view on to actually have the conversation. But this time,
At your convention, what's that going to accomplish? For the first time in a 116-year history, you're not inviting a president. Are you trying to tell me that there's no president that has been as offensive to the NAACP as Donald Trump in 116 years? Are you really making that argument? That no matter what you think about Donald Trump, that's the only person, that's the only president of the United States that you've been able to say that about in a 116-year history of the NAACP. 116 years.
You're talking about 116 years. I got to check and see. Derek Johnson was the person who I guess confirmed that statement about the NAACP. How long has Derek Johnson been head of the NAACP? I feel like there's a difference. Times change, people change, organization viewpoints change over time. So it's not surprising that they would not invite him back, or it's not surprising that they would not give him. I mean, like, if they're looking at the state of events now, because I don't even think was Joe Biden invited last year. I mean, like, I don't think this is necessarily exclusive for Donald Trump, more so than like, hey, if you're fucking attacking civil rights, which was the exact reason they gave, let's not lose that. The reason that they did not invite him is because they're stating that he's eliminating civil rights. Like, that's their whole deal. I mean, you can't deny that. Donald Trump and his goons have been attacking people's civil liberties, civil rights. Your right to freedom of speech, that's being attacked. You're getting locked into a Louisiana prison if you speak against Israel. Like, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's a civil right. Remember, day one, the first major statement he made in his presidency was to blame a plane in a helicopter crash on DEI. Didn't investigate it, didn't even look into it, don't even know what happens. They just blamed Biden for its DEI program. And I can only assume they did that because they probably believe that this can only be a failure due to people of color. Maybe they thought it was an immigrant. I don't know. I'm still confused on why they did that. But, I mean, he is ripping people from their homes, literally ambushing people, having ICE dressed as Call of Duty skins. scaring the shit out of people, picking them up from their homes, picking them up out in the middle of the street. Like, come on, bro.
Doing the math, that goes back to 1909. Since 1909, there's no president that has ever been more offensive to the NAACP than Donald Trump. Is that your argument? Let's say for the sake of argument that it is for the moment. Other than the progressive left, who's going to definitively agree with your position? You might have folks out there that want to contribute to the causes of the NAACP that are center left and center right. They may not agree with Donald Trump either, but they recognize the importance of being able to work with the President of the United States.
So basically, bend the knee. This is what he wants people to do, is just bend the knee to Donald Trump. Just bend the knee, whatever. Like, let's just kiss his ass so that he can make our lives easier. That's what I'm getting from this whole fucking video. Because I don't see the big deal about the NAACP choosing not to invite Donald Trump, the racist, the bigot, the misogynistic, the guy that's been been held civilly liable for rape. Like, are we forgetting all of the heinous shit that this guy has done, that he has said about the Central Park Five? And you're expecting everybody to overlook that? Again, NAACP, 116 years, I'm pretty sure the mentality of the organization has probably changed over time, just like your mentality has probably changed over time, for standing up for black people in 2016, dedicating your platform, or First Take, one of the most popular, if not the popular sports talk show ever on ESPN or just fucking TV, dedicating that to the 2020 Black Lives Matter movement. I feel like your ideology, your ideals have changed ever since that big contract came, and you started, doing a lot more, getting a little bit more involved in the politics, misguided anger and stuff like that. But
just think about it. I don't think this is the right move.
I think it's brilliant.
If all of us had to like the people we had to deal with and do business with, how would business ever get done in this country, if not this world?
Like, what does he mean by business? They were really fucking clear on why they did not invite him. They were really clear. Their goal was they are for civil rights, and Donald Trump has made it his mission to eliminate civil rights. That is legitimately what Donald Trump has done ever since he became the president of the United States. He was talking about reparations for white people because of DEI. Like, get the hell out of here. Like, have you just fallen so far down the centrist pipeline, which I don't believe you're center. I honestly believe he can say he's center left or whatever. He's speaking Republican talking points. He's a conservative talking points, period. Like, it's frustrating because he's a smart guy.
I know you know the answer. Let me move on to a second headline involving the NAACP. And this is pertaining to Elon Musk in the city of Memphis. The NAACP, along with the Southern Environmental Law Center, said they intend to sue Elon Musk's artificial intelligence company called xAI. They have major concerns about air pollution generated by a supercomputer facility located near predominantly black communities in Memphis. The xAI data center began operating last year, powered in part by pollution-emitting gas turbines, without first applying for a permit. Officials have said an exemption allowed them to operate for up to 364 days without a permit. However, Southern Environmental Law Center says there is no such exemption for turbines and that it's now been more than a year. They also say the use of the turbines violates the Clean Air Act and that residents who live near the facility already face cancer risk at 4 times the national average. That last sentence is all that matters to me. No doubt this is in South Memphis, from what I read, that it's a poor and impoverished neighborhood. Now, Elon Musk and his company will tell you that it's generating billions for the local economy, if not at least hundreds of millions of dollars. They're talking about
Sorry.
plants that are being built, one that's cost over $35 million and something else, and that's going to generate jobs. We certainly understand the importance of generating jobs, generating revenue, stimulating an economy, making sure that folks within the Memphis community, specifically the South Memphis community, are benefiting. As Mayor Paul Young pointed out, they're trying to make sure that the revenue generated, at least 25% of that revenue is allocated for folks within a 5-mile radius of this plant. I respect that. I understand it. I understand the importance of economics. I understand the importance of a flourishing local economy. I understand about jobs. I get it because you want to pay your bills and what have you. But air pollution, risk of cancer 4 times greater than it normally is. What good is everything I mentioned if you're dead? We can't have that. We can't have that. So the NAACP, according to law, is obligated. If you're going to file this lawsuit, you got to give them 60 days notice, and that is what has happened. So this lawsuit essentially is forthcoming, and we'll know the facts. And in fairness to Elon Musk and XAI, they've essentially said that they've violated no laws. They followed all the protocols and the rules and regulations necessary to justify doing this project, and this is what they're doing. But if their health is endangered at 4 times the normal rate of what it normally would be, ladies and gentlemen, we got ourselves a problem. And there's nobody on this planet, especially nobody in the United States of America, especially nobody in Memphis, who should sit silent about this. We're as strong as our weakest link. And those impoverished, living in impoverished neighborhoods, need our voice. They need our help. So we need to keep a watchful eye on this, and to make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, to ensure that while revenue is being generated, that corners aren't being cut to potentially compromise the well-being of the impoverished amongst us. They matter just as much as the rest of us. Just as much as the rest of us. And there's no way in hell that we should sit idly by and be quiet if something like this is potentially going on. So while I disagreed with the NAACP's position about inviting Trump to their convention to speak, I applaud the NAACP for bringing attention to this by announcing that they're going to file this lawsuit to get this matter addressed. Good looking out, Mr. Johnson. Good looking out.